Oh, so I hadn't yet talked about what it is that we all are doing.
That's right.
And this is something I'm just going to invite everybody within the sound of our voices to figure out their own version of this and join us in it. I will say Heather is in a slightly different position than the rest of our family because, as many of you will know, Heather was in a nearly fatal boat accident. What is it, 5 years ago?
Yeah, 5 years.
Nearly 5 years ago, which means that cycling, although Heather,
over 5 years.
Over 5 years, that bicycling, which was a major part of all of our activity, is something Heather is working her way back into, but isn't where the rest of the family is exactly at the moment.
Yeah, I was thrilled. I mean, I'm just going to jump here. I've been paddleboarding a lot, as people know, but and it's wonderful to be out on the water, especially early in the morning. You get some nature, but there's no speed, and I love speed. And I did go on a 24 mile bike ride yesterday, which was mostly up and then mostly down. And man, I just love going fast.
There is speed in paddleboarding, just so little it's barely perceptible. All right.
It's not that I'm staying in the same place the whole time, which would be its own kind of work. But
you're not.
No, it's wonderful. But it's and just as like single track mountain biking, which we used to do a lot of, is fabulous, but not when you're out there as a birder, as a naturalist, right? Like you don't see anything. You go too fast and you don't see the nature. And so paddleboarding allows you access to the nature, allows you to be a naturalist at the same time. But if you also like to both get your heart pumping and just have the sense of like the world going past you fast, bikes are more likely to get you there. So
that's true. I have been biking to a nature area and then hanging out there.
That works. You bike there and then you slow down and then you bike home.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, what we are doing is we are looking at the calendar and thinking, oh God, it's going to be winter here sooner than we know.
Some of us are thinking, if I just write it down, it'll be July.
Mm-hmm. I hope that works. And please invite us backwards in time to July. I wouldn't mind that. But anyway, for two different reasons. One, because of all the things we've talked about with COVID and the value of being in good health with respect to fending off the disease from the point of view of contracting it. And if you do contracting it, having a less severe course of disease, it makes sense to get into shape while the sun shines. And the hard part for all of us who live fairly far north or presumably fairly far south, the harshness of winter makes it hard to stay on your exercise regimen. So just simply getting on your bike here in August is pretty easy because you don't need to bring that much. You don't need to think about the exact temperature and all of that. And it's very different in, let's say December. So we have set a goal in the house, and I'm going to be leading my kids in this. The goal is
kids at this point being 17 and 15-year-old, really young men.
Young men, right. We are going to ride a century, that is 100 miles in one go before it's too cold to do it, which really means before school starts.
Those are two different goals. You might want to clarify exactly which goal it is because,
well, I'm targeting
especially here. Summer tends to, our summer weather often lasts through mid-October. Yeah,
it's not the necessity. The days do get shorter, which makes it more challenging too, because there are fewer hours of daylight. But anyway, we're going to ride 100 miles, and we're going to try to do that before school starts. If it ends up being after school starts, that's not a big deal. But before it becomes a matter of needing equipment to stay warm and all of that, we're going to ride 100 miles, which is obviously not a huge number. People ride hundreds of miles all the time. I've done it many times. I haven't done it in quite a number of years. But anyway, it's a challenge. You definitely feel it. It's not the kind of thing you can just hop on a bike and do. You have to train a little bit to get there. But the idea is at the beginning of cooler weather, you get to the point that your body can do the 100-mile ride. And then as the weather warms up on the other side of winter, you get to that point again as quickly as possible. And you use it kind of as a bookend. And the idea is the amount of fitness you lose over the winter as it becomes harder to ride a long distance without getting cold and soaked or whatever. You lose less and you stay in better condition. And then that will have COVID benefits too. So that's the plan. I'm hoping you will end up making that goal, but it's obviously not. You're doing other things that we're not doing. So
yeah, I'm not setting it as a goal, but I will participate. For instance, we're going to do a 40-ish mile ride next weekend is the plan, and I will participate with you guys in that. And I guess you wanted to, not yet formally, but maybe talk about at some point formally inviting people to have their own challenges, to
join. I think this year, as we're rapidly ramping up to this year's century, it's not going to work for us to gather with others here locally. But on the other side of winter, I'd be kind of interested in seeing if there are enough people in the Portland area that we could, hold each other's feet to the fire a little bit. And
do people bike in Portland, or?
People do bike in Portland.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, quite a number of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're not in Portland, or even if you are, we would encourage you to do something in the waning days of summer to gain as much fitness and as much vitamin D as you can, and to think about how you're going to return to that state of fitness at the far end of the cold season. Yeah,
and figure out, just like with food, some people are like, well, I don't want to eat healthy because it doesn't taste good to me. And good, delicious. We eat very, very healthily, and we also eat. We do have some sugar and some alcohol and stuff in our diets, but it's delicious. We eat extraordinarily well, and it's from the farmers markets and from farm raised, grass fed beef and these sorts of things, and it's fabulous. And so you do have to train your palate if you were raised on other stuff, or if you become accustomed to other stuff. And the same thing with exercise. If your sense of what you have to do to be in shape is, if what I had to do to be in shape was go inside in a gym and do repetitive stuff on machines, I just wouldn't. I cannot imagine that. And for some people, that's terrific. For me, and I think I've actually mentioned this on the show before, I like, part of what I get from being outside is the constantly changing conditions and the slight risk, frankly, of just being somewhere where you got a little skin in the game, in terms of taking on some risk, because you are outside. And then that also means that you get, you can be surprised. Like I saw a week ago, I saw a mink while I was paddleboarding, bouncing along, going, it came out of the water, and then it was in the rocks going in and out, and it would stop and look at me, and I got pretty close. And I watched, oh my God, I think maybe I mentioned this already, but I watched this eagle diving for ducks. A bald eagle, not an osprey, which you tell me is an eagle as well. So you see things that are unexpected, and that itself can take you into new places in your head and take you out of whatever stuck places you were in. And so, it's not just about the physical fitness part of it. So, figure out what it is for you that you want to do, that you will find pleasurable, and to get your yayas out, right? Yeah. And not to say that, as much as we used to bike a lot, and still in the various places where we biked, and we did a lot of single track mountain biking, it was really hard to get that activation energy to get out the door, even though we not only loved having done it, which is fairly common, but we loved actually doing it. And yet still the motivation to actually get out there. I had the same experience yesterday. It's like, I don't want to go. I haven't been on a bike in a while. And I just had a fabulous time. Yeah. So, it is true that your brain can convince you that whatever it is that you're not yet doing is just too hard, and it's better off for you to sit on the couch with your Cheetos. But really overcome the inertia and make the inertia work for you, such that once you're moving, then you're more likely to stay moving.
Yeah, and I think one of the rules has got to be figure out what works for you, right? Exactly. And there are lots of options available. We don't have any electric bikes, but electric bikes open up a world of possibilities, and it's
trikes, true too.
Yeah, trikes are complex to get anywhere, unfortunately. But electric bike, you can go a lot farther with the same input of energy. It's not necessarily like you're working less hard. It's just, how far do you want to get with it? Yeah. I have a helmet that I use to listen to music if I'm, biking somewhere that's not super interesting to look at.
And you don't find that helmet to be one of the horsemen of the apocalypse?
No,
as I do.
It's actually... No, I find it's great because, well, what it does is the music is close enough to your ears that it's not loud to other people. B, it's not in an earbud that blocks your hearing of things in traffic that you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
It's easy to silence it if you need to. You can also, if I'm late coming home, as you know, I can call you or text you from the helmet. And, anyway, it's not the most natural experience, but I do find, it means that I get out on the bike more because I can multitask a little bit or whatever.
You can, yeah. You actually do phone calls from it.
Yeah.
Whereas I really relish the silence. As you know, you got me one of these and you tried hooking it up and it lasted about 15 seconds. It's like, it's the helmet or the marriage, really.
Oh God. I didn't know it was that bad.
No, it wasn't. That was an exaggeration.
Thank you for choosing the marriage.
Yeah. I mean, I still have the helmet. It's just not activated. Yeah. Okay. As far as I know.
It needs a VPN.
No.